Okay. Okay, this is the Real Guardian, and this is the sixth time I've tried to record What If Belle Was the Master of the One-Eyed Black Dragon due to the fact of real life stuff keep popping up. So I'll say the tiny bit of announcements really quick. Um, Thank you for almost getting me to 200 subs. I really appreciate that. And I'm probably working on the 200 sub What If next. And finally, the schedule I post is just a guideline on what's going to happen. It's not the exact way I'm going. So after that, I hope you guys enjoy this new What If, and let's get started. A young white-haired boy is running through the fields near his family home. As he's holding on to something, he jumps up and hugs an older man in the field. As the older man then says, "What has happened to you, Belle?" Seeing his shoulder wound, with the young Belle responding, "I found this, Grandpa." Now we cut to some time earlier. As Belle is playing near the forest, it's near his grandpa's house. He started to climb up some rocks, and when he gets to the top, he sees more trees that dot the area. As he remembers that his grandpa said always to have this on. As he looks down to the knife hanging from his back and the monster pellet bag from around his neck, which stinks a lot, but he knows he has to put up with it since it protects him. As Belle walks into the forest, he starts to pick up berries and herbs since he knows he will need them. Well, and does this while he explores and plays. Now he's beginning to fill a small backpack they brought with him, turning his head up to look around to make sure it's safe, and once he does, he quickly starts roaming again. As he was roaming, he found some pretty rocks he liked and put them in the bag. He also saw some deer and foxes nearby, but they ran away before Belle could get a closer look at them. So he decides to walk a bit more, even though he should be heading back since it's close to lunchtime. And as he was walking, he found a small river. He went to it and drank some of the water. As he was drinking, he heard a cry. He noticed it came from the nearby cave. Spell then weighed his options. On one hand, it could be something or someone injured that needed help. But on the other hand, goblins and wolves were in the area, and this could be a trap to get him killed. Then Bell remembered the stories of heroes his grandpa has read and told him about over the few years. Then saying to himself, they would never be scared. They'd go and do the right thing even if it seems to be a trap. With this, he decides to go into the cave. His knife at the constant ready just in case. He follows the cries. As he enters the cave's main chamber, one of the first things he sees is a flag on a pole as it's waving. Oddly enough, it strangely looks familiar to him. He also saw that there is a broken tent with rope tying it down, even though it's nearly in pieces. So as he gets closer, he sees the flag had an emblem on it, and Bell looked at it. It appeared to be a spear with lightning bolts around. He then turned to see a small creature on top of some rocks. As Bell walked up to it, he noticed it was actually a lot larger than from the distance, and it looked like a baby black lizard. And it took up most of the rock with its body. As Bell got closer, he saw that it was injured, noticing one eye was damaged with a scar over it. As then he sees it's bleeding out in a lot of places. Bell, realizing what he could do, took out some of the herbs in his bag, and he went to the broken tent, getting some of the rope together, and tearing pieces of the tent apart, and going out of the cave and washing both of them and coming back. When he walked up to the lizard, he started preparing the herbs. As he took them out and placed them into pieces of the tent and rope, making makeshift bandages, basically, putting it and then wrapping up the lizard. To do this, to not only compress the wounds to help to stop bleeding, but he also picked herbs that are designed to help with it. But as soon as he finished, he noticed something was behind him, a presence. He turned to see a goblin riding a wolf. This goblin readied its sharp rock spear, and the wolf was licking its lips at Bell. His first thought was he was completely terrified. Then looking down at his knife, he knows that he has it just in case. And he was trained on how to use it from Grandpa, even though he doesn't know much about combat. But he was always told to use it as a means of escape. So then Bell thought this was a perfect plan. But then he heard the whelp. He turned back to see that black lizard. Then he took a very deep breath in and out and steeled himself by saying to himself, "A hero does not run away, they always find a way to win." And then the goblin and wolf started charging at him. He then used his knife to block the thrust of the spear as it knocked the goblin spear in his hand back. As then the wolf underneath him tried to bite Bell kicking it very quickly in the face, causing it to jump back. Bell realized something. He knew what to do. He then grabbed a rock from the bag and an herb. He then quickly slammed his knife against the rock, setting the herb on fire. While doing this, the wolf and goblin started to lunge at him. He then grabbed the monster repellent back off his neck, and as they were about to be right on top of Bell again, he set the bag on fire and shoving it into the wolf's face, causing it to wince from the horrible smell as it was thrashing all around, throwing the goblin off as it flew backwards, hitting a wall. Bell, realizing this was his only chance, quickly slashed the neck of the wolf as it was losing its blood very fast. It made one last cry as it died and turned to ash. Now, when this was happening, the lizard behind Bell had awakened to notice it had been wrapped up. It looked around to see a young boy as it was trying to growl at him, but realized that it was in too much pain to do anything. Looking forward to see a goblin and a dying wolf in its vision. Now the goblin was getting back up from the wall as it bared itself again. To see Bell ending its wolf's life. It was going to charge at him in anger, but it saw the lizard move. It quickly remade its decision to attack as it now charged towards the lizard. Bell, just finishing the wolf's life, turned to see the lizard up, but then he saw the goblin was charging at him. Bell darted in front of the lizard. Now the lizard was in its position to growl and defend itself, both Bell and the goblin, but then Bell was stabbed very hard in the shoulder. Using all his strength, he grabbed onto the spear to keep it in place, as the goblin was trying to pull the spear back with its strength as well. Bell finally saying out loud, "It does not matter to me, man, monster, or beast, I will defend everyone, for that's the hero I want to be." He said this to steel himself and be ready for this next attack. He then slashes the pole, breaking it in half, pulling the spear out of him and quickly turning around as the goblin, since it was still pulling with all its might, quickly fell backwards. Bell, knowing this was the only chance he got, quickly stabbed it in the face and using its dagger to slit its throat, goblin then turning to ash. Bell turned to face the lizard, looking at him. Then he just saying out loud, "It looks like you're alright," with it responding with a nod, which confused Bell. He'd also realized it looked red. Maybe it was the blood? Then he said, "Wait a minute." As he grabbed his bag and putting it back on his back, he went to the flag and he pulled it down to his arms and he walked back to the lizard and he wrapped it up really tightly and then saying to it, "See, this way I can carry you. Yeah, my blood from my shoulder won't get on you." As he pulls it closely tight to his chest, hugging it. And on the way back, he grabs some more since it could help him and the monster. Bell is now almost back home. He then sees his grandpa in the fields as he runs towards him, where the lizard that was in the cloth had finally fallen into a deep sleep. As he now cut back to the interaction, as Bell was showing Grandpa what was in the cloth, he then noticed it, saying, "Bell, this is a monster. I don't know what type. But do you know what a monster is, right, Bell?" Bell saying, "Yeah, I know, I just fought some. Plus, I thought it was, too, but it was hurt. So I was not going to leave it. After all, a hero helps everyone, Grandpa." He then sighs, saying, "All right, but if it hurts anyone, it will be killed. Do I make myself clear?" As Bell nodded his head. We now cut into Bell's room. He left the lizard wrapped up in the cloth on a chair, as he was now grinding up herbs and making paste for the injured monster. He was placing the paste into actual bandages he had, and the grounded up herbs he was turning into herbal medicine. The small creature stirred itself awake as it unraveled the cloth and bindings it had. And it stood up. It was still in pain, but it started to look around. seeing it was in a small room with a bed and was lying in a chair. Next to the chair was a bookshelf, and by that was a small table with an apple on top of it. Seeing that, the lizard started to crawl slowly up the chair, and when he got to the top of the chair, he quickly jumped the small table. But as it landed, it winced in pain. But it quickly got over it and darted to the apple and started devouring it. While that was happening, Belle had gotten everything finished and was up and ready to help it. He noticed that it wasn't where he left it. He first freaked out, but quickly realized it was on the table. So he finished getting up, getting the supplies together, and walking up towards it. He then saw it had eaten the apple he had left there. He giggled a little bit because it was cute. But as he got closer, he realized the little monster, or lizard, was smiling. Now, finished eating, it noticed Belle had gotten too close, so when it tried to growl, it realized it couldn't, so then it spit seeds at him. Belle wiping him away, saying, "Hey there, I'm not Emma, remember this?" As he takes off the shirt to show his shoulder wound that had been wrapped up in bandages. While the young monster, oddly enough, got really red again, which still confuses Belle. But he got closer and said, Here. As he gave it some water, sprinkling the herbs in it, it started to drink the water but spat it out thanks to the herb's taste. Then it bared its teeth at Belle because it thought he was trying to kill it, with him calming it down by saying, "Hey, I made it to help heal you. So let me show you these, so you know I'm trying to help." He then pulled out the bandages. The lizard looked at him confused, but Belle wrapped one part of the bandages around a very injured claw, wincing in pain, and also tried to bare its teeth again, thinking it was being hurt. With Belle saying, "Hey, wait, does it hurt now?" I then looked down at its claw, and realizing it didn't hurt as much. It slowly came up to Belle and then gave him a smile, having this redness again. Belle just decided to ignore it and started wrapping up the rest of its injuries. Once he's done, he said, "Here, now drink the rest of the water. I'll get some meat, okay? But only if you finish it." As it looked at him very, very grumpy, but it complied. So when Belle came back to see the water bowl empty, but with the lizard just gagging all over the table, as Belle gave it some meat, which it devoured immediately, as then thinking to himself, "Okay, now I gotta nurse this back to health. Probably take a few weeks. Got enough herbs to last until last week. So I probably should get the lizard to know me better, and I know it better, since I think that'd be nice, and once it trusts me more, I can really help it out." As then another thought he just blurted out that entered his head, saying, "Wait, do you even have a name?" As the monster shook its head no. He then thought about how weird it was. It seemed to understand him, but then he's saying out loud, "He'll pick one once it's healed, because he does need time to think about it." As it shook its head yes, agreeing with Belle. Tel then decided just to pick it up, carrying it to his bed, and the lizard going completely red again. And she then lays down saying, "Good night." Now a couple of weeks have passed, and all manners of things have happened during this time with Belle and the lizard. As he's learned that the lizard can breathe black fire, it had started to grow these wings out, and had gotten big enough to be the size of a medium dog. It also loves dry jerky and broccoli, which helped Belle because he does not like broccoli at all. So he's been feeding it to the monster when his grandfather's not looking. Also, it seemed to really hate it when Belle left it alone for any period of time. And it now does not sleep unless it's sleeping with him in the bed. And since it was almost healed completely, Belle decided this time to take it with him into the forest. He was grabbing herbs and placing them in bags when the lizard started to growl heavily. As Belle put what he needed into the bag, as he quickly turned around to see goblins, a huge group of them, as he drawed his knife to the ready, then saying, "Don't overexert yourself. You're still healing." The lizard nodding its head. As then goblins rushed them. The lizard then spat out a flame breath, burning most of them to crisp and ash. As then others attacked Belle. Belle then quickly cut down a goblin that was darting in front of him, turning it into ash. As another one jumped down and slammed its club down onto Belle, but he rolled away as he readied himself and dashed forward, cutting its neck, turning it into ash. As in the vile goblin, trying to hit Bell in his blind spot by sneaking around him, was about to charge, but the lizard, seeing all this, used its tail to smack him in the face, sending it flying towards Bell, as he quickly darted forward, cutting the goblin down, turning that one also into ash. As he walked up to the lizard, saying, "I know you were being careful, but let me look at the tail just in case." It then showed its tail to Bell, and as he was feeling it, the lizard got really red again. Bell did sign, saying, "All right, you're okay. Let's go home now." Now, as the last week goes by, the lizard now was the size of a large dragon with fully grown wings. Bell wasn't sure what type of monster this was. As he was trying to think, it was curled up next to him in bed. Bell realized he had to give it a name, and he finally had an idea for it. So he nudged it awake enough where it opened its eyes and looked out. He then sang, "Hey, I have an idea. How does this name Veladran sound to you?" It lifted its head and shaked yes, as it nudged his right hand, and when it did this, Bell felt this burning sensation as this great pain shot throughout his whole body. As these words in a female voice echoed in his mind, "For you are my one and only master, so we are now contracted to be bound for all eternity. For this day forth I am Valadran, your faithful servant, your lover, or anything that you desire for that is my wish, my dear master." As Bell was in such pain that the moment the pain subsided, he passed out. He then reawakened the next morning to see a beautiful older woman with dark tan skin and flowing black hair as it was covering even her face. Looking down to see her huge bust that was staring him, that was pressed against him. This caused Bell to completely freak out as he fell out of the bed, banging his head. And as he rubbed his head, he then realized there was a weird tattoo mark that was on his hand. It's the one in the thumbnail, the middle one. Thinking to himself, what the hell? What's going on? As he was rubbing his eyes just to make sure he was not dreaming, and realizes he is not a dream. His own thought process being, either I'm the luckiest boy right now in the world, or I'm the unluckiest. He decides to get up, then saying, "Hey, who are you?" The woman starts to stretch as she yawns, then looks at him, then saying, "Good morning, master. It's time to do the usual knife training." Bill says, "Wait, master?" She then saying, very confused, then saying very confusedly, "Why, of course, master, it's Valadran." As Bell then blinks, saying, "What? How's this possible?" She then responds, "Simple, master. It is proof of our contract, after all. That's what's on your hand." As he looked at it again, then saying, "Wait, are you a dragon?" With her nodding yes, then responding with, "I am. And I am the strongest dragon in the world, the legendary one-eyed black dragon." As the wind fluttered through the window, revealing her eyes, as one had a scar over it and it was completely white, as the other one was ice blue. Getting to see her whole face, Belle's only words at that moment that came out were beautiful. As this caused Valadran to blush deeply, as she then said, "Thank you, my beloved master," as she jumped and hugged Belle tightly, even kissing him on the cheek, which caused Belle to completely freak out and crashing down onto the ground with a loud bang. As his grandpa bolted in, wondering what had happened since he was worried about him. But when he saw the sight he behold, he screamed out, "I'm so proud of you, Belle. You got a hot older woman and you're only 5. Grats!" As he gives this big perverted smile, then Belle screaming out to him, "What the hell, Grandpa?" We then cut to delivering him, with Valadran being measured by an older woman of the village. And she's taking out a simple, long, flowing white dress for her, telling her she's going to make upper garments and clothes for her. But she has plenty of undergarments that fit her for now, as she then walks away, leaving. Now we cut to Grandpa being really depressed because he had lost the previous 3-hour argument with Belle, and how she should not be clothed, with Belle saying he should. As then he slaps himself to get himself in the right mindset. He then walks up to Belle, looking at his right hand, then realizing what that was, screaming out, "You formed a monster contract? I only heard about these from the ancient days. And if it's true what you say, This is the Black Dragon. It is known as the Destroyer of Worlds, Killer of Gods. Some people even theorize it could end everything. Belle, you are now the luckiest person I know. Because it turned out this entire time it was a hot babe. Then he gives a smile with a thumbs up, causing Belle to get this tick as he punches him into the head, causing him to go backwards with a nosebleed, giving a pitiful look. And Belle said, "So what the hell is going on then?" Valjean decided to speak up. "I can explain everything. See, this is what's called a monster and master contract. This is once how people gain power before the blessings of gods. So you could say this is the blessing of the monsters. By having this, it increases everything like with the blessing of the gods, be it with your strength, speed, endurance, metric, etc. It also gives you a unique skills, and depending on your monster, unique magics as well. But you need to give them a name they will like. But sadly, once monsters and mortals became just enemies, it was a forgotten art and power, to be honest. Plus, Belle, you're the only one alive right now that can do this." As Belle asks her why, they're responding, "You're half spirit. And don't worry, you're a unique half spirit, so you can actually still have children, unlike others." Well, then actually, wait, I'm half spirit. With her shaky head, yes, see, spirits helped bridge the gap between monsters and mortals centuries ago. And thanks to that, we gave the spirits our blessing as a sign of thanks, including to some mortals. But most nowadays can't do it because either the mortals are too weak or none of them are compatible. So you need to have a kind and pure wavelength that a monster would like, including a heart and soul, since we can see into those. But honestly, after I gained back most power, I was trying to see if anyone else is like you so that we may be able to pass this power down more. But you're the only one that fits all this criteria. Plus, to be honest, I never let my beloved hero get harmed that saved me." And she smiles very happily at Belle, causing him to blush deep red, and saying, "Okay," as he caught himself, "because I meet both criteria, I basically can make contracts with monsters, making Valjean say yes. But you first have to earn their trust." That Belle could not believe what he just heard. It was throwing him through a loop. As he decides just to walk outside and start doing his usual training with the dummy they had set outside. He did this without even thinking. As he kept going and going with the train, not really as Valjean was standing nearby worried about him and even waiting for him, as he pushed himself harder and harder, since he was so completely lost and thought he didn't realize what he was doing, for finally collapsing. As he then regains consciousness to be in Valjean's lap, as then he said, "Oh, it's afternoon. Well, good afternoon, Valjean," as he turned to see the sun was about to set. He then responded with, "I pushed myself too hard again, huh?" As he looked up with Valjean crying deep tears, saying, "Do you hate me for what I did?" With Belle responding, "No. I actually love and care for you. Honestly, now I don't know what to do without you in my life, so please forgive me. I got so much information in that span of a few minutes that I was just so lost in thought. Each thought getting different and different to the point where, honestly, do you think I'm even worthy of you at all?" She then wiped away her tears, saying, "You were the one that protected me, nursed me back to health, and have taken care of all my needs when I bugged you for them. To be honest, there's no way any girl cannot fall in love with you after all that. So to me, you're the only worthy person I will ever have in my life, and I would have never accepted the name you gave me if you were not. So how about we go eat dinner and get a bath?" Well, agreeing with it. Now he had just eaten dinner, was in the bath as he was just laying there soaking. As he heard the door open, see Valjean in a bath towel entering a bathroom with Belle getting completely red and saying while starting, "Why are you here?" They're then saying, "Why are you asking? We usually take a bath together." Then Belle remembered, yeah, he usually got in the bath with Valjean to help clean her. Well, it's a her now. He always calls it a neck because he didn't know what gender it was. Then saying out loud, "It's all right, but I did do it usually in dragon form. Instead, she responded with a bit of a sulking face. Well, after this one, I'll make sure to take a path as a dragon from now on, since it seems it will help you. Belle, with Bella just responding, no, whatever makes you more comfortable. That's what I want you to do. And she then responded with my mortal form with you. Then she got in the bathtub as she picked up Belle and put her in her lap. She started to relax with Belle as she was cuddling him. Belle was completely freaking out about the whole situation. He then started to take deep, calming breaths in and out. As Valadrin seeing this said, how about we just finish washing up soon? Since you do have to help with the field tomorrow, right, Belle? He then nodded his head as Belle went to lay down in bed with Valadrin crawling up to him and cuddling him. Again, he was trying not to freak out, but he was still stressed and worried about the day. Just then, Valadrin realized this and started to stroke his hair. Belle then asked, why are you doing this? With her saying, whenever I had a bad dream was uncomfortable, you stroked my head. So I thought it would help, Belle. As he responded, saying, yeah, it does. It'll help a lot. She smiled, saying, that's good to hear. But always remember, I will do anything to make sure that you're happy, comfortable, and well loved, my beloved master. Belle blushed really hard thinking about that, then shook his head a bit. Then he smiled at her, saying, thank you, Valadran, so much for this, as they both went to sleep. Okay, this is actually a little bit shorter than usual because I didn't write as much script-wise, and I read this faster because, to be honest, I am really sick. So I want you guys to like, comment, subscribe, and I hope you guys enjoyed this. And if you want to leave a recommendation down for what if, please do. Okay, this is the Real Guardian signing off.